Crimson Guitars, welcome to my home studio. Welcome to the live stream. This is the Friday evening, episode 38 of this thing. It's nonsense, but we love it, so here we are. I am late, and I apologize profusely. My day went away from me. I started out by filming What's on the Bench for next Friday, and we've got some fantastic students in and some interesting stuff happening and all of that good stuff. And the end result was that I got away a little bit late for everything else that was happening, and I had a trip up to Bristol to pick up some stuff for Vintage Tool Shop and Crimson, actually. I bought... See, I feel really bad about this, actually, but there's an auction company that specializes in sales of companies that have been liquidated or are going through bankruptcies, etc. And you find interesting things. And in this case, I bought a bunch of flight cases, big, giant flight cases, into which we can fit several amplifiers, and in fact a long one, long enough to fit about 40 guitars, and things like this to make life easier for us long term at Crimson. Unfortunately, there was a whole lot of other stuff, and the van is now full, and I'm going back next week, and it just took too long. And yeah, it is what it is. Anyhow, we have Tutankhamun, we have Lisa, we have Dang Nabbit in the house. Bob Hewitt, how's it going, Bob? Bob says, any tips for helping a neck with a slight twist on the bass side? It is a bolt-on, so it can be easily replaced, but slight twist on the bass side is the wrong way. It's pushing your wrist up towards you, which is less than ideal, but there is no way to make the wood itself want to twist back. It's doing what it wants to do, and that's the way the tree is saying it needs to go, and it's what's going to happen. So you don't have a fix. The only fix is to actually plane the fretboard down. So take all of the frets off, plane the fretboard down flat, and hope that it doesn't continue moving. But that's the way it goes. So we have Jeff's Guitars, we have Studio Lemuria. SC Guitars is in, he said not long now, and I'm not entirely sure he was correct. I was a few minutes late. I pulled in from a more than 100-mile round trip. I pulled in at 7:26. Flew past my poor family, who I have not seen, and came in. Tutankhamun says, I will be watching Sunday's live stream in Biddle Trenthide, i.e. the next village over from Crimson Guitars, because he is coming down for a course, which is going to be excellent. I'm really looking forward to meeting you, and this is one of the things. I, in abstract, know that you guys are out there and exist. I really do. But you guys who interact with me on the live stream are more real to me for some reason, and that's really cool. Okay, Justin Neese says, hey Ben, big fan, can you say hi to Marissa Piper Alexandria? It would make their day. Hello Marissa Piper Alexandria, I hope you have had your day made. If not, you need to take it up with Justin Neese, because we've both been promised something here, and I hope that you get it. But hey, how's it going? Okay, Rab Knox says, if I hadn't been looking to see what time the live stream starts, I wouldn't have known it was in here and not being promoted by YouTube. The live stream from now is on the Extras channel. And yes, I probably should have done a post on the main YouTube channel, but it's, again, my day has not been my usual day. Dang Nabbit was humming Four Seasons to himself. I suppose we all have hobbies, I suppose. Creeverai, how's it going, Creeverai? That was the countdown. Toot M. Carmen. First question for Ben. Do Crimson have a baritone scale measure of some kind? I'm going to say yes, there must be. We have... Somewhere in there, I am sure we have 27-inch. Enough people have built baritone scales, various baritone scale instruments at Crimson, including somebody very, very recently that we must have. If not, we have the capacity to do it. Franz Truter, how's it going? Welcome to the chaos. Okay. Creeverai says, so apparently we are more important than his family. I really do have an issue with that. But I think the family feels that at least certain elements of it do too. Anyway, we'll keep this relatively short for that reason. I'm spending... I have so little time and so much that I want to do. And my big issue right now is actually saying, you know what, you can. I had an idea for a new business today with an incredible name, and I can't even say the name on YouTube because I get banned. But it's like so perfect. But I'm not going to do it because I just don't have the headspace or the energy, and I just can't. And I need to learn how to tell myself, no, Ben, you're a fool. Spike's Guitar Garage, I do like the name change. He says, on classes, such a shame we can't cross the pond and I don't have the extra money anyway, lol. You can apparently cross the pond. I heard today that if you are double vaccinated, you will be allowed in. Whether I heard that from a third party, so I haven't seen that from our government, or your government, I suppose. But that's something I heard today, so hopefully that is the case. Creeverai says, what's up, Ben? I think I've just said a lot. Stuff. Nonsense. Chaos. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Tutankhamun says, geez, I got my last message so wrong, so I'm going to go find the last message. Ben, you are not looking forward even half as much as I am looking forward to you, lol. That sounds like Lord of the Rings Bilbo Baggins when he's at the party saying, you know, I like half of you as much as you deserve and more than half of you less than etc. I wish I could quote that properly. Neil Yelks says, I'm a ghost. I'm not entirely sure. Hi, Tahoe Mike. Okay, everybody, I require questions. Give me questions. Raymond Forbes says, relatively short, like under 2 hours, with a smiley emoji. What tool do you wish Crimson could make? That is from Matthias Lindgren. Okay, Crimson can make any tool. What tool do I wish Crimson would just pull finger and make? Many, but something that I think that would add a lot of use to people and a lot of benefit to a lot of people would be a sanding rolling pin kind of device. I've seen it in factories before, and it's for sanding the edges when you don't have an oscillating spindle sander or something like that. You can put it in a standard hand drill or run it through a flexible shaft cable. I think something like that is something that I really, really want to do right now. Also for wiring, I think that there is an issue with holding the wires and stuff, and I think we can come up or do a good version of something that makes life much easier. There are multiple holding hands, etc. A whole plethora of acoustic tools. We need to have a fret tang nipper, and those things are really difficult. They're damned expensive, absolutely essential, really, and just difficult to do. So that's another one. There we go. Okay, Spice Guitar Garage says he got the pokes part, he just needs the dollars. Yeah, I know that feeling. Okay. Bum. Questions are in the Discord. Decided against spamming everywhere, lol. Oh, spam is the way to get seen. Let me have a look. I should have some questions in my WhatsApp over here. Okay. Stian TV says, Josh reminds me of the Blue Peter cat when I was a kid. It disappeared every time the camera was pointed at it too. Josh is he's fantastic, and yeah, I love it. Okay. Okay. What is that? Zazafraz13 says, Hi Ben, would you rather have to work on guitars exclusively using dirty, thick welding gloves for the rest of your career, or never see another finished guitar from Crimson students? Oy, oy, oy. That's not fair, that's just mean. That is honestly asking between something that I derive huge pleasure from, mostly, i.e. the students, and something that I honestly think would drive me to question my position on this earth if I couldn't make things physically. If I couldn't make things physically, I would write a whole hell of a lot of books. I would, but I don't think I would get the same amount of pleasure. Difficult question, but a good one. Okie dokie. Pocket Punk says, is there any obvious tool I really need if I can't have a proper workshop? Because I'm pretty forced to work on a couple of trestles and 2x4s in my courtyard, and I only have a jigsaw, a router, and an orbital sander as power tools. Honestly, with a jigsaw, you've got all of your cutting out, as long as you go slowly and use new sharp blades. You shouldn't have too many issues with it going where it doesn't want to go. They're problematic, but, fine. Obviously, a router is absolutely essential. If you didn't mention router, that would be where I go. And an orbital sander is amazing. If you have it's the aforementioned oscillating spindle sander. And it's a small bench-mounted machine. They're relatively inexpensive. The Triton one that's also got the belt attachment, so you can either have the spindles or the belt. I absolutely love that machine, and I use it for everything from... I don't even use the router anymore for the outline of a custom guitar where I'm only going to be making one of. I don't use the router for the outline. I use the oscillating spindle belt sander machine. It's just amazing. I use it for making tool handles, for restoring hand planes, for making knives for my kids. It's just one of those machines that is just incredibly useful. Other than that, I would say it has to be fret leveling and dressing tools. There are certain specialist tools that mean that with a little bit of intelligence and slow consideration of what you're doing, or watching a bunch of my videos, you will pretty much be guaranteed a good setup and good frets. And those are a fret rocker, a notched straight edge, a crowning file, and what else is there? Oh, a means to level the frets, of course, a leveling beam or fret leveling file, and a fret end dressing file. Those things, they happen to be our essential fret leveling and dressing toolkit. Really, if you're going to build guitars, really are essential. It's in the name. They also are currently all on sale at crimsonguitars.com. There's a major summer sale going on, which is currently still on. There is also 15% off every single tool at vintagetoolshop.com, all 8,500 or so of them. So, yeah, there we go. Shameless self-promotion. Robert R. saw What's on the Bench early this morning. Oh, yes, of course. So the one I filmed last week, that was pretty cool. Adam Bartram says, I have a scarf-jointed head with a 1.5mm ebony veneer top. The neck is being lacquered cherry red. Woohoo. I like a good cherry red. I am finding the masking the veneer difficult. Could I spray and scrape, or would the angle be odd? Spray and scrape. Yeah, spray and scrape for sure. There is no... Essentially, masking off binding of any sort is almost always doomed to some sort of failure. It just is the way it goes. Okay. Uriel Sage says, here's a double shot. That's Rocket League speak, if I'm not mistaken. What tips and tricks do you wish you knew when you started out? Yeah. Just how difficult this would be, this whole journey. I spent most of the day today with Tom Webster, who is the managing director of Crimson Guitars, for me. He runs the whole company for me, and we talk regularly, and we've been working together now for 7.5, 8 years. He started as an apprentice, and we were talking about the huge wage bill that we've got every week. I mean, 2.5 weeks' wages is more than I made in my entire first year as Crimson Guitars. Significantly more. For what it's worth. And he said, "Oh, remember back when it was, a toss-up whether we got paid or not." And he said, "Oh, by the way, you actually never did get paid, did you, Ben?" And it really was so touch and go. I lost my house. It wasn't a mortgage. Me and my family, we were evicted from a premises because instead of, I had the choice of paying my rent or losing Crimson Guitars, and I probably made the wrong choice. I paid the staff at Crimson Guitars and kept that going, hoping that it would turn into what it has turned into. But I had a really, really difficult time of it, getting this business to the stage where you guys know who I am and care about what I have to say. So the trick that I wish I knew when I started out was how to not be a fool with money and how to take advice. When I was young, I really did not listen to other people. I thought I knew everything, and I was utterly, utterly wrong about that. Tool-wise, which is I assume what you're talking about really, masking tape and super glue trick, 100%. I think that if I had known that, I would have had a lot more success a lot earlier on. And I really wish YouTube was about back then. I essentially taught myself guitar building from books. I knew I had a couple of years learning viola da gamba building, early string musical instruments, and that was fantastic with the hand tools and the planes and all of that jazz and acoustics and stuff. But other than those motor skills, it didn't help all that much with guitar building. So okay. So yeah, those things. And if I could magically know how to level, crown and polish without ever having to learn it, that would have been amazing. Anyway, next bit, the second part of the double shot is, how long should a fret leveling session take? It took me quite a while on my current neck. I spent 4.5 hours or so on Nebula 2. Now that is probably an hour longer than I could have done it a lot faster if I'd really been trying to go for speed and 5% less quality, if you know what I mean, i.e. good enough that nobody would ever notice that it wasn't as good as I could have done it. But please excuse me. Alrighty. Kiwi Quarters has sent the first super chat of the evening. If you really want to get a question to me, super chat is the way to go. They say, routers are scary. Can I use Forstner bits and a chisel bit hand router, or will it take too long? Is there a hand tool to make binding channels? Ouchie, ouchie, ouchie. I have had exactly those same thoughts. Okay, so if you use Forstner bits to remove as much of the material as humanly possible, it makes using a router much less scary. For starters. Now, using a chisel-built hand router to route out for example, a pickup cavity, I just wouldn't even consider it. If you are adamant that you're not going to use a router at all, then I would use the chisel and a mallet. So I would force a bit everything out and then just mallet the chisel through to route out your pickups. The control cavity, same sort of thing. That would work. So a hand router is great for example, truss rod cavities. That would work very well for that. And it's about getting an even depth throughout. The pickup cavity doesn't really matter. The control cavity doesn't really matter how deep it is, as long as it's not through the back or the front deep. But I would really say routers are your best friend. Go slowly, take as little material off as humanly possible, so forcing a bit out as much of the waste, and then put the router in the middle of where you want to cut and slowly rotate it around, just nibbling away the waste until it's going around the template and you're fine. I don't think I will ever, by choice, use a router table on the end of the headstock ever again. That is asking for trouble and should not ever be done. Just don't bother. That is what an oscillating spindle sounder is for, or rasps and files and things. Routing the end, the headstock and the end, you should be okay, but just take it slowly and carefully. Okay, Lisa says, hand pleck. I agree. If we just start calling it, I'm going to hand pleck this. I suppose the people that make the pleck machine would love that. Okie dokie. Dang Nabbit says add 400 miles to Crimson. It's going to be worth it. It's only 400 miles. There are people coming over from, well, everywhere on the planet. Neil Yelks says, I love a decent router. I might be a weird one, though. It is one of those things. A decent router is important and is great. I am a fan of Triton routers, for example, with the fine adjustment and all of that quality of build, etc. But when it goes wrong, it's scary. When you take too big of a cut, it is scary. When you go too deep and are falling through the bottom of things that you shouldn't be falling through, yeah, it's scary. Uriel Sage says, Dan, that makes me feel much better. I spent about 4 hours leveling my neck too, but I got it perfect. That's the thing. I think you can spend as little or as much time as you want. If you are going for a Zaratsu polish, a black, absolute mirror polish, then it's going to take time no matter what you do. If you don't particularly care too much about the sides of the frets being absolutely spot on, a couple of hours and you're fine. I did, when I was building I think it's even on camera, I built a cigar box guitar, and I leveled and I maybe crowned those frets in about 2.5 minutes. I leveled, I polished, or I leveled and I think I crowned and I polished it. It was a couple of minutes. It's live in the video if you want to check it out. Now, they weren't perfect. They were perfectly flat, and they still function today. In fact, yeah, they still function perfectly today. The instrument's up in my hands. Go for it. Okay. Uriel Sage finally procured a Triton router a couple of weeks back. It's one of my favourite tools. You have good taste. Oh shit. Garage Master Guitar says, how many watches has Ben really wearing? I must apologise. I don't normally wear 2 watches. It's a little bit weird. I picked this up. It's a Buren Dirty Dozen watch. So back in the 1940s, the UK government commissioned 12 different companies to build watches for the war effort, for the military, basically. And this one I found on eBay in horrific condition. and I got it for a steal. And I literally, one of the things that I managed to do today was finally get to pick this up from Horological Underground, who is a watch shop, and German Pelosin is the proprietor. And they did a fantastic job restoring this. And I had forgotten that I'd put it on because I didn't want to put it back in the case. So yeah, I mean, it's I've paid less than half of its value, even including a full restoration, and there we go. I'm now not wearing two watches. Spike's Guitar Garage says, what's the strangest thing you ever received for repairs or guitars? I got a great soldering iron that sucks fumes and blows hot air this week for a nut replacement. Okay, seriously, I mean, at Crimson, the strangest / coolest was that sort of... It's a cross between a Viola da Gamba and a guitar. I can't remember the brand name. There is another one of those coming in, actually, and that was a video that I did earlier in the year. It was great fun to do. At my tool shop, we have all sorts of things come in. I bought what I thought was a hand drill once. Turned out to be a vintage... There was a certain treatment for what was classed as hysteria in weak-willed women. For the podcast, I put that in quotation marks. And that involved a certain stimulation with a device for massaging oneself, operated by the doctor, actually. And this is what this thing turned out to be, with a sort of an oscillating weight that you could change the position of, so it changed the vibratory response of the tool. And the best thing about that was the sheer amount of wear on the little wooden handle here, and on the handle you could see it was, yeah. That's one of the strangest things that I've had come in. In fact, we've had several of them over the time. I now know what they are. Okay, Uriel Sage says, headstock tip. I sanded to within 0.5 of a millimetre before routing. Then I used a damp rag to wet the end grain just before routing. No tear out. That is a really, really, really good tip. Yes, of course, remove as much material as possible, and cutting to within half a millimetre, I mean, that is quite a feat, actually, to be honest. End grain, if you are planing end grain with a low angle block plane, I always say damp it down, make it wet, and you'll be able to get a really clean result. I have never once thought or realised that you could have the same exact result with a router. Kudos. That's really cool. Okie dokie. Jelks, not Yelks. My apologies. Neil Jelks says, one watch for each eye, lol. I have a weakness. I really, really, really do love watches. Uriel Sage, the file marks on the sides of the fret are a bit tedious to get out. All in all, from start to finish, I must have spent 8 to 10 hours on the entire level crown polish. I wanted it to be spotless. I was asked a question earlier about tools that I would like Crimson to make. There are a couple of things that I'm experimenting with for polishing frets that come out of the, wait for it, jewellery and watchmaking industry. And I'm going to be adding some of those into the mix fairly soon, because they do make that process easier. Lisa says, you have a whole series of vids for Cigar Box. Do I? There was a Cigar Box build-off competition that was quite fun, actually. Yes, we have been doing build-offs and guitar build-offs and things, and had the ideas to do it many, many, many years ago. So there is that. It's the first one I did, my first ever cigar box build, and it was quite fun. So yeah, it was filmed over 5 hours, and it took some time. Robert asks, "Are you still planning on putting out videos on Wednesdays? The past few weeks, I've not seen any new ones." Yes, Tuesdays or Wednesdays. We have done the Tuesdays tool thing, and I'm sorry, Creeveri's internet has failed. He says, "This time my internet failed." I am not back at full steam at the moment. Definitely not. And to be honest, what we need to do in order to... Between Talitha and I, one of us is always working far too hard. Talitha is my main editor. And I need to get a guitar ahead of her. I need to stop. I need to build a whole guitar, give her all of the footage, and then build the next guitar. So for the short term, I might not be doing 2 guitars at the same time, and that is in the interests of my sanity and her sanity. We are working with some other editors to get some footage, some other things done, like super edits, etc. We have got a new employee who filmed me doing What's on the Bench actually this morning for the first time, and I'm hoping that she is going to be able to do some editing as well, and we're working on training her up. So, but we've just come to the realization with GGBO and Nebula and Shred and all of that frankly we're a bit balmy. So we're taking it a little bit slow, just for a bit. SC Guitar says the eel spear is probably the weirdest thing I've seen on the Vintage Tool Shop. If you aren't yet following at the Vintage Tool Shop on Instagram, please go and follow her. I've finally given access to the Instagram account to Safi, who is the lady who manages the shop for me, and she's finding weird and wonderful things to post about every day, and it's great. And go and follow me at the real Ben Crowe as well while you're about it. Creever says, "Will there ever be Crimson hand planes?" I absolutely certainly think so. Lisa says, "Would you ever use a T-planer? Is that one of those planes that go in a pillar drill and essentially acts as a..." I tried one once, and that really scared me. Really, really scared me. It wanted to pull things in underneath it and through it, and I just said no, I'm sorry. I might have been using it wrong, but Spice Guitar Garage said he would buy a Crimson handplane, if signed especially. That weirds me out all the time when people ask me to sign stuff, but I would happily oblige. Joseph Smyjon, how's it going? Says, "I gave you a would you rather during the stream, you missed it twice, lol. Would you rather build a fretless guitar or a 64 fret guitar? Single neck." Okay. Fretless. Fretless for the very, very good reason that fretless guitars still have a use. Anything more than, at worst, 30 or 32 frets just becomes pointless, in my humble opinion. So, I would say that. Climo Custom Guitars says, "Would you rather have to do all your chiseling with a 4-sweep gouge or your gouging with a 6mm chisel?" Oh, no. All my gouging with a 6mm chisel, because I do a lot less gouging than chiseling. Damn fine question, though. I think in necessity, out of necessity, one can make it work. If you sincerely have an incredibly limited budget, and what budget you have is going to be spent on for example, wood and hardware, etc., then, you can build a guitar with a single chisel and no gouges. You can do it with a single hand plane or no hand plane. I know it's difficult for me to even believe that I just said that, but yeah, it's always better to have the tools at hand if at all possible. Robert R says, are there any finer cut files made that can be used to work on frets? So what I've been doing recently is I use my crowning file to crown them, because they're relatively coarse files, the Crimson traditional 3 square files, you call them. And then I will go after that fact and I will polish the sides of the frets using the fret end dressing file, which is about the finest cut file you can get, and it's already been ground with the safety edges, etc. And that then speeds up the process for the polishing with various grits, or however you're going to polish that. So there is, and that's what we do. 88 viewers and 41 likes. Tutankhamun says, Ben, I will be bringing a few things for yourself and Talitha. Smiley emoji. Thank you very much. I really am. There are a few students I've been looking forward to more than the few of you that are here in the live stream and who I am developing a relationship with just through talking with you week on week. It's a new and unexpected thing to me, and I in the past it's always, hey, fantastic, this guy's a fan, this girl's a fan, they've come from wherever they've come from to learn from me, and that's cool. But you guys, I talk to you, I've answered your questions, we've interacted, and now I'm getting to meet you, which is cool. Okie dokie. Stephen Clark says, what are some things you wish you knew about in the beginning, and what things did you think or were told you needed but found them unnecessary or redundant? And he's talking about tools. So what are some things that I wish I knew about in the beginning? I was very against CNC machines in the beginning. Very against CNC machines in the beginning. And I now have a very nice CNC machine in the house. So that's cool. I was taught how to use scrapers fairly early on, and I didn't get the knack of how to sharpen them properly for a long time. And I wish I'd figured that out quicker. And the same thing, notched straight edges. I thought that notched straight edges were another one of those tools that had been designed to fix a problem that wasn't a problem. And there are companies that is their process. Hey, let's invent a tool. Let's find a problem for that tool. And I thought that was one of those things. And then I sort of made myself one and realized, holy hell, this is a really cool thing. And it took me a long time. There's videos out there of me building guitars without a notched straight edge, and I'm not surprised that my setups weren't as good as they could have been, basically. What are things that I was told I needed? I found them unnecessary or redundant. That's a difficult one, to be honest. It's normally the other way. A lot of people say, hey, you don't need a hand plane, you can just use this £20,000 sander jointer planer thicknesser thing that I've got in my fantastically kitted out machine workshop. I still don't have the money to spend on a sanding belt machine that is that precise. Give me a hand plane. There we go. Okay. Oh, shit. Okay. Well, guess what, people? I just swore on the live stream and ran out of battery. So there's no image for now. Hold on for a second. That battery was fully charged just before I went live. And what's happened? Is I picked it up from Crimson Guitars, and it's obviously got no charge. So, yeah, it's old. It's not holding its charge, which is typical. Okay, so fingers crossed this works out. Hold on for a second. There we go. Hi, how's it going? I hope that we didn't lose anything there. We should be alright. Let me know. Neil Yelks says, who said that? Kiwi Quarters says, I think it's Ghosts. Jeff's Guitars is talking about lots of sandpaper. Yeah. Sandpaper. You can't beat quality sandpaper. Why is everybody talking about sandpaper? Yes, you cannot beat quality sandpaper. I use... Oh, I thought that I turned this alarm off. Maybe that's for Sunday. Quality sandpaper, quality blades, good quality router cutters, things like that really pay for themselves over the long term. It's the Sam Vimes theory on economic status via boots. A poor person will buy a $10 pair of boots and then wear through them in a year, and then need to buy another $10 pair of boots, whereas your local patrician will buy a $100 pair of boots, but it'll last him the rest of his life. And in the end, he spends less money because he's rich on boots than the poor guys do. And that is the exact same thing with regards to tools and router bits and sandpaper. Cheap sandpaper, you run it over the bit of wood 2 or 3 times, and you lost it. Whereas good quality sandpaper, you can sand a whole guitar down with one bit. Scotsman says, hey Ben, I got my first ever planes, a number 4, a 5 and a 5A. They seem to work, but dare say they could do with a good setup. And he sent me photos here. We've got a Union 5A, which is a beautiful tool. An Acorn number 5, which is UK made, and a Woden number 4, which is also UK made. That's a really, really cool trio of hand planes, actually. And not the normal thing. Those are collectible hand planes. In fact, that Union is a particularly nice plane there, sir. So congrats. Stephen from SE Guitars says, any tips for cutting a veneer sheet to the shape of a body without the grain splitting? Just a really sharp tool? Yeah. I say use a scalpel blade and be done with it. Be very, very, very careful. Creever says, one time I don't remind him and he forgets to turn off the alarm. Tell you what, everybody, could you just bear with me? Think up a question or two, and I will edit that alarm. That alarm that just went off was my alarm for me to put the chickens away, because otherwise, well, we do have foxes in the area. In fact, my neighbour's chickens were fine, but were hassled the other evening by a fox. So we've got to be careful. Okay. Woohoo. Nil Status via the Discord says, "Hey Ben, I'm about to start building my first workbench based on Paul Seller's plywood bench. Is there anything specific you would recommend to include in a workbench design for a wannabe luthier?" Okay. I don't have an image in my head of the plywood bench that Paul Sellers made. Vices are the most important thing. I have a front vice and an end vice, and bench dogs are essential. They really are so useful. So I would say, and we're talking about spending money wisely. A good quality vice. Really make sure you've got a good quality vice. VintageToolshop.com probably has some, more than a few, but there are other ways. Good vintage record vices are amazing, and then you can buy. There are some companies that do new vices, the names of which escape me at this point. Bacon Biltong Whiskey from Redhead 17. Did you get a chance to have a look at the Driftwood Guitars Truss Rodless Tele guitar? Honestly, I have not, and this makes me feel bad. I've had one of those months. After looking at more of their vids, their acoustics are amazing, especially the inlays. I know that was sent to me. This is the thing. I was having a discussion with somebody the other day about something that they wanted me to do, and I was like, I don't even have time to do the things I want to do. And I said, I'm going to stop talking to you, and I'm going to do those things. And I sat down and did 4 things on my list, and it was just done. So I just need to make some time and do it. Ooh, Kiwi Quarter says, would you rather build only cheap Chinese guitar kits or only extremely high-end Chinese instruments? Well, the latter. I mean, the challenge of a cheap Chinese guitar kit, actually, it takes skill and patience to make the cheap ones actually work as guitars. And sometimes that's actually impossible, even for me, without a full rebuild. So yeah, high end, I suppose. Scary. Robert asks, have you considered building a carved top guitar using gouges, and instead of sounding smooth, leave the carve marks in the top? What do you think about the idea? Gibson have done that exact finish on... I can't remember exactly what the name of the series was, but I love it. I think it was an SG, maybe a Les Paul. It was early 2000s, potentially. I really like the finish. Yes, I've considered doing that in the past. I've never really done it. And I don't know why. I like texture in guitars. I think it could look amazing. Okie dokie. Would you rather be remembered in history as a Leo Fender Les Paul or I know Paul Reed Smith, right? Leo Fender popularized guitars and invented electric guitars and invented bass guitars. Les Paul really is a musician who just tangentially happened to have his name put on an iconic thing, which I particularly love. Paul Reed Smith took an existing business, turned it on its head, and became a powerhouse in that. I would love to be a Paul Reed Smith. Even if it's not my company making thousands and thousands of guitars, the fact that there are thousands and thousands of you out there making thousands and thousands of guitars because I've inspired you or shown you just how easy it can be to do, that makes me happy. So yeah, I'm happy. But very good question. Thank you. Toot M. Carmen says, that's good. Add -vice. Talking about the vices on the bench. The anarcho-luthierist says, I want a fractal vice now that I know that they exist. I too want a fractal vice now that I know they exist. Oh my god. Check out the tool restoration channel. Hand tool rescue. Oh. Yeah. Robert asks, I was looking at one of those shooting board planes. Wow, expensive. Nice, but pricey. Probably just stick with the jointed plane and hold it sideways. Seriously? Stick with the jointed plane and hold it sideways. If you really want a specific plane for shooting boards, you can take your jointed plane, put it on the side, and if you can adjust the handle so the handle goes out sideways so your knuckles aren't being hit if you really want to. In fact, I have a Stanley 10 1/4 for restoration down there. Incredibly rare, fantastic tools. Where the handle, if you loosen it, the handle flips sideways, so you can move it around for that reason. It's really cool. Jared Wilson says, hi Ben, would you all ever consider doing a combined course where we could build a guitar and then build an amp to go along with it? I know you mentioned the amps in an earlier live stream. Yes, absolutely. It would be a case of 2 back-to-back courses. It would be a 6-day course followed by an amp kit building course of, I would say probably 4 or 5 days, but maybe 3 days. It depends on the kit, really. But yeah. I really, 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 really I'm on the next question now. My brain's fried. I really, really, really want to double the amount of courses that we offer at Crimson. Sticking with instruments for now, but maybe even moving on to business and CNC and how to run laser cutters and do basic drawing and living in the digital age and marketing your guitar company in the digital age. The various things that we've learned. Now, a lot of that isn't going to happen anytime soon, but yeah, it's cool. Ivan Wizard says, Bog Oak Park, duh. So did Ben remember to ask Ricky about the college placement? I got permission for Ben to try and organise. Permission from Ben to try and organise. Ha, your memory is as bad as mine, lad. Ricky is a nice fellow, by the way. I have spoken to Ricky and he did take the piss out of me. It's something that we want to do. It is up to you to keep on chasing him, though, and he will keep on talking. But I think, as near as I understand it, and it was at least 3 days ago that I spoke to him, so well in the fogs of history, in my mind, I think it's going ahead. So there we go. Sparks Guitar Garage says, I had you right. I'm a Leo Fender guy. I mean, he designed... Leo Fender used the Industrial Revolution and Ford's manufacturing way of things to good effect. He really did. But that's already been done now. Now it's a case of what can I do to turn things on its head. We'll see. Rab Knox is getting ready to start at Crimson on Monday. I'm looking forward to meeting you, Rab. Creeverai, plane restoration. Would you want to see that on a Tool Tuesday? I'm going to be doing some plane restoration on Tool Tuesdays. I need to just film it. Absolutely. Deborah says, hey Ben, would you rather give up all machines and only use hand tools? Yes. I haven't even read the rest of the question. Or vice versa. Sorry for being mean on Crimson's Instagram post earlier. Were you mean? I'm going to have to look it up now. No, that I would rather give up all machines and use only hand tools for the rest of my life. I don't think that the company would survive. Let me unpack that. We would not be able to manufacture tools in-house. We would not be able to manufacture guitars effectively, not at the price point we're doing at the moment. Kit guitars, things like that. We would definitely be able to run a school and grow the school if, as a company, we had no machines. But yeah, the CNCs, the planer thicknesses, the spindle sanders, all of those things make everything so much better. Okay. Mr. Waffles says late as usual. You're late to a live stream that I was late starting. We've only had one super chat. Oh my gosh. Neil Jelks, I prefer the 25.5 in scale length, just can't get the hang of the pulls. That's fair enough. I personally like the PRS scale, to be honest. It's a bit of the better of both. Okay, come on guys, you need to give me questions, or really I'm going to have to call it a night because I really am knackered. Okay, my Wilton bench vice is spectacular. That's from Stephen Clark. Garage Master Guitar says, don't put the chickens at risk for us. I won't. The thing is, when I'm doing the live stream, I walk past them on my way up and I put them away anyway. It's when I'm up at the house watching a movie or whatever and, forget. Okay. So, yeah, we are at the stage where I really do need questions. If you haven't seen Fractal Vice on Hand Tool Rescue's channel, please go and check that out. That was super cool. Your Real Sage talking about Fusion 360, talking about CAD. It is amazing what you can learn online, and with the free trials that you get for all of these things, it's pretty cool. There we go. Dang Nabbit says, Vimes quotes. Growing up, I wanted to be James Bond. Then I read Discworld and wanted to be Sam Vimes. I agree. Neil Yelks. No, Neil Jelks. I will remember. It's a J. I got it. People are taking the piss out of me for not remembering that. Sean Fahey says, Ben, I guess the new range of stains are imminent, like they have been for the last 2 months. At this point, I just want to give up even thinking about it. Can I tell you... I have... Okay, put yourself in my shoes. Our stunning stains, they are fantastic. They really are. And it is literally one of our biggest selling products. I am talking about, it's one of our biggest selling products. It pays, a lot of people's wages because they're so popular. 2 years ago, we decided we were going to, more than 2 years ago now, we decided we were going to do this range of stains that are still imminent. Imagine how many of those I could have sold if it had been done effectively and properly and on time. Oh, so frustrating. So yeah, they're imminent. At this stage, it is in the hands of the company that actually manufactures them to our specs. We think, well, they're imminent. Fast Swipe, I love your name. Said $5 Canadian. Thank you very much. And he says, she says, they say, thanks for the content, building my first guitar and having a blast. I can't wait for the hand tool build you keep talking about. Can you sing us a song? I cannot sing you a song. I'm not in the correct mode, as it were. I have a fantastic voice, if I do say so myself. But no. Maybe one day. The hand tool build is imminent. I am going to do a hand tool only build. I really am. And it is one of the next builds I've got planned. It really is. So, yeah, I'm going to do that. Nathan Wall says, any tips on learning how to draw for a CNC? I have one where I work and would love to try cutting out a guitar. I would first of all, talk to the people who you are working with and see if they're interested. I know that if any one of my members of staff comes to me and says, hey Ben, I'm interested in learning how to draw for a CNC, they would, before they knew what happened, they would be sitting in front of a computer being taught how to draw for a CNC, because somebody who can do that is such a useful person. Other than that, it is amazing how much you have available on the internet. Choose your software of choice, make that decision, and then go for it. There is so much that goes into it, but once you get moving, yeah, it'll be fine. Rob Phoenix has sent £5, and thank you very much, Rob, and said, just to boost the coffee funds. Thank you very much. At this stage, I need it. Your thoughts on capacitors, paper/oil, ceramic, etc. Is it worth spending the money on orange drops and the likes? I think it's worth spending the money on orange drops. They're a couple of quid each or so, unless I'm horribly out of date and old. A lot of paper oil capacitors are actually just standard ceramics, pretty wrapping. Okay, and that's just, there is no difference. I personally do not think that there is any difference in tone between an orange drop, i.e. a good quality one, and a bumblebee or whatever the hell you want to call it. That being said, I have never done A/B tests. I just know that a capacitor has a value, and a good quality capacitor with a different good quality capacitor of the same value will have the same effect electronically. There is no mojo. But I'm happy to be proved wrong. Oh, SC Guitars, fantastic. Says the live stream has turned into the podcast. That was when the when the camera went out. All right, guys. Ivan Wizard said 9-hour hand tool build sing along challenge. Bring it on. Bring it on. Okay, Ben, random question. I know you're a guitar player-ish. Did you ever learn music theory? I did. So at 16, I left home. I went to South Africa. I studied at a performing arts college, majoring in music. I fell in love with a music theory teacher, learned Afrikaans entirely because that was the language that they actually taught in, even though I didn't know that before I went in. She was something else. And yeah, I studied music theory quite intensively there. To a certain, it was part of what I did. I was also a saxophone and a trumpet player before that, so already had a pretty good grasp of it, but I was studying composition and all that. This was many years ago now, and it's all gone. It just, bye-bye. And doesn't affect the way I play, which also hasn't progressed really in any meaningful way in the last 20 years, so yeah. James Dawes says, how do you get wood thin for making acoustics? I personally would choose to put it through a sander thicknesser or a wide belt sander. The other option is to just hand plane and go slowly and carefully and plane it down, which is pretty much most people's only real option. Bulgarian Evolution says, App and Go, by the way, thanks, mate, for all you've taught us. Finally got around to redoing the frets as well as mount the Floyd Rose FRX on my Mockingbird Bird, and now it's the easiest playing guitar I own. That is fantastic. Now you need to go and do all of the others and see which is actually the best guitar of the lot. And it's a pleasure. I really do love what I do. Neil Jelks. Ben, is Beach okay for a fretboard? Maybe a touch boring, but still curious. Cheers. Yes, it is, absolutely. And if you want it to be a little less boring, you can burn it. No, stain it black. Beach is often stained or ebonized. Do. Huh. Purple Dracos, have you thought about glass or resin tuner tips with watch parts in them for the watch-inspired build? I don't like the idea of parts floating around with no purpose. However, I really like the idea of sort of a guitar tuner or tuning key made out of a bit of wood that's been snapped, and you've got the sort of raw wood going, and then resin. I think that would look amazing. And thank you very much for the idea. I've drawn that to remind me of it later. Woohoo! There's a super chat. Okay, hold on. Where are we? Bob Hewitt, thank you very much, Bob, has said $5 and said, how about a CNC race build-off? Have you been reading my dream diary? How about a CNC race build-off while singing sea shanties? No! Sea shanties. My now 11-year-old somehow was singing sea shanties the other day, and he had it on repeat. And he had it on repeat in his brain as well. And I walked in and I said something along the lines of, I wasn't allowed to listen to secular music until I was 16. You are not allowed to listen to sea shanties. And what? No sea shanties in my house, boy. While you live under my roof, you live by my rules. Gosh darn it. So no sea shanties. Ben, thanks for all the great videos and for sharing your wisdom. Wisdom? It's in process. A CNC race build-off is going to happen. I've realised this second that I've put it off too late. We've just bought a CNC machine that is literally 10 times faster than the other ones. Poop. That's going to be fun. But anyway, I might actually lose it. I didn't think I was going to lose it. But yeah, that's something that I really do want to do. Okie dokie. Stephen from SC Guitars says, would you rather have guitar building have a massive outlet stage, e.g. the Olympics for all the world to see, and be inspired by it, equals far more Luthiers, or lumber/tool/hardware to be far less expensive, so the people who already know about guitar building can more easily afford it, but for luthiery to get no exposure equals no new builders? I think that just democratizing it, just making it less expensive to do, would mean more people would do it. I literally 2.5 hours ago, was talking with Tom Webster in the van on the way back from Bristol, and talking about this new CNC machine and how I sincerely hope that means that we would be able to put the price of our kit guitars down, at least the basic ones, the standard ones, because that would mean we would be able to make a whole lot more of them and sell a lot more of them, because at the moment they are fairly expensive. They're impeccably made. You literally will not be able to buy a better guitar kit. You might be able to buy one that is as good, but they are that good. If I can make them cheaper, I want to, for exactly this reason. I could have even planted your question. It would have been, it's the perfect question. Uriel Sage. Oh, I've already answered that one. Okay. Anyway, guys, look, this has been an hour or more. Where are we? There's a timer somewhere. Well, hey, it's been an hour and 9 minutes and 14 seconds. So I'm going to start calling this a day. Let's see. The Anarcho-Luthiers has used Texas honey mesquite for his last 2 fretboards, and it's very pretty. That sounds amazing. There have been no Crimson videos this week, and I do apologise. We're slow. That's Lisa and Neil Jelks talking. I have to think about your name now. That's crazy. Uriel Sage says, how about this one? Recently I was checking a guitar I inherited. I'm sorry for your loss and happy for your gain. And the frets were very unlevel. However, it played just fine. And the action was fine. What's up with that? The frets were way out of whack. I have no idea. Magic. Let's go with magic. Sometimes they just play well, and it just is what it is. Phil Girk has sent $5. Thank you very much, Phil. And said 10 minutes ago I botched my fret markers. I'm going to pull off the fretboard and start over with a new one. I've never done this before. Thoughts? My thoughts are, don't do that. My thoughts are, take up inlay. So it depends on how much you've botched them, i.e. you could have dots at the 11th fret instead of the 12th, which has happened in the past. I've done that. But instead of dots, you just say, hey, I'm going to do a giant vine over the whole thing. And you might be surprised at how cool and how well you can do an inlay when it is a more natural sort of a look. Now, if you are going to take the whole fretboard off, I would say pull the frets, gouge out the inlays, plane the fretboard down until you have about 1 millimeter of the old fretboard left on the neck, and then just glue the new one over the top. Binding, and you're away. Taking it all the way down to the neck substrate is problematic. If you do plane it down as thin as possible and want to remove it, adding water in is a way to loosen the glue, but that also makes the neck itself want to move. So, yeah, it's a difficult one. But thank you very much for your question and for your super chat. I really do appreciate it. And good luck. Now, please don't forget to check the Luthiers Discord server. I am constantly amazed by how many people are on there. Just at random times when I pop in, I'm like, hey, there's 90 people here talking about guitars. That's crazy. And I think that's really, really cool. So here we go. I would like to say, Ben Tyman, roasted maple, is it worth the extra money? Roasted maple is delicious. It works very well as well. And looks beautiful. I really like it. Depends on how much extra money, but yeah, I think it's great. Neil Jerks has managed to pull 1 fretboard so far, laying a clothes iron on the frets for about 10 minutes at a time and going very slow. This does work. The issue is, again, you're just putting heat and some level of steam and moisture into the neck itself, and it's going to make it want to move. Spike's Guitar Garage says, have you ever cooked maple in the oven? The wife accused me of baking cookies. Never. I haven't baked cookies in years. And no, because I value my marriage. I have mentioned it a few times when I want to tease her, but yeah, no. Okay, the Anarcho-Luthier says, all right, Ben, Rick Beto is streaming now. We'll let you off the hook. Yeah, we all need to go and watch that. Danny Arthur says, please do a resonator. There is a student in the Crimson Guitars Luthiers School, courses on a discount right now, apart from the 3-month course, who is building a resonator. It's going to be incredible if I... yeah. Phil Girk says, block inlay might be the way to go. That's true. There we go. Okay, guys, look, I'm actually honestly feeling like crap at this stage. I need to go and funnily enough, I haven't actually taken my diabetes medicine for the evening, which is probably something that I should. I'm not insulin, I don't inject, but I'm on metformin, which helps my body regulate itself. So I am going to go and do that, and I'm going to say good night. Thank you very, very much. There are again 100 of you watching, and I really do appreciate that. please have a fantastic weekend. I will be back for a live stream on Sunday evening, and well, I'm looking forward to it. Goodbye. I've enjoyed this. It's been good. Have fun.